Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page where I do this daily live stream all around the divination card, the oracle card that I draw in the morning. It's meant to show us what's important for us to know about today for our soul growth. And it really sparks a very interesting spiritual conversation, I think. One that I really enjoy. And so welcome everybody. Today is Tuesday, March 26th, and it's now, it's a bit overcast here, but it's still pretty nice out. So much so that George has been spending about 90% of his time outside today, which is a good thing for him, right? It's good stuff. Yeah. So before we get too far down the road, because once we start chatting, I lose track of time and what I'm doing with sharing. So I'm going to do a share out to my friends on my newsfeed, and I invite you to do a share as well. It helps people to be able, other souls, right, who are searching for information, spiritual information to find us. Makes it just a little bit easier for them. And so if you wouldn't mind doing that, we really would appreciate it. Helps us to be in the newsfeed a little bit more often, because we all know Facebook, that elusive creature, right? Likes, shares, and likes comments. So I am going to share it over to my newsfeed. And we're just going to say, hey, friends. I'm live streaming. And just to please join us. There you go. Get that done. And I think I'll leave the rest of the shares to Stephanie. Yeah. That would be good. So let's see. I want to make sure my sound is down. There we go. Got to charge my phone like I'm running on fumes. Do you remember that? That's an old saying, isn't it? It's gasoline, really. Cars with gasoline. I suppose we could still run on fumes when we have a hybrid and we're running on the electrical part, right? I don't know. But anyway, I have very little battery life on my phone because I've been busy this morning. Busy. Yeah, I had my weekly show, which is Communications from Home, is on Tuesday nights normally. But today we moved it to the morning because my guest was from India. And we were trying to figure out how to get her here to get interviewed where it wouldn't be that she'd have to be up like in the wee hours of the morning, right? And I honestly, I used a time zone converter. Yeah. And I know that I plugged in the right town for her, the right city in India. And we were an hour off. It's like, oh my gosh. She couldn't join us because she was feeding the baby, and then she had a short meeting right after that. And so we finally got her on to do an interview at Ayesha Sheba. And I tell you what, it was what she had to say was like, I'm shaking my head. Yes. Because I agreed with her, because it's all the stuff we've been saying here at Star Nations, for 5 years now. And yeah, so, total in agreement with her. And she had a power outage. Yeah, came back on. Her power came back on, and so she had lights, but we kept going right straight through the interview. And then at the very end, right when she's going to tell us what she's going to be doing in Grand Rapids, Michigan, she loses her connection. I just said thank you to my guides for getting us through to that point, and and thanking them for helping us through, because Mercury retrograde really was pretty hot and heavy today with technology. So I'm just so glad we were able to hear what she had to say. Yeah, there. And so coming here to this live stream, this to me is like us sitting down at my dining room table and we're having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee together, and we're chatting about this divination card that was drawn, right? And so it really is more of a conversation between the two of us, and or the multiple and me, right? Yeah, so I appreciate it. I really do. And so Julie's here. Hey, Julie, good to have you here. Good to have you here. Yeah, so we're going to get started with the card. It's a little. I have to say, when it popped out, literally popped out of the deck, I didn't shuffle too long or too hard with it. It was like maybe 3 passes through the deck, and it was jumping out, landing face up in the upright position, right? And so it wasn't inverted. Thank goodness. Wasn't inverted, and so this came to visit today. And the card draw intention is to, I'm asking my spiritual team to show us what's important for us to know about today, the energy that's for our soul growth, and for our highest good and the highest good of all, right? And also something that we can share with others. And so this is who showed up today. Now this is, we've had Adder, maybe this is our 3rd time, I think, with Adder. And I know that there's some who find snakes difficult to be around, because they're afraid of them. They have a phobia or something around snake. And so when we're looking at this kind of information, is to remember to breathe and to take deep breaths. The shallow breathing doesn't help us. Doesn't help us at all when we're looking at a picture of something, an animal who we have some fear around, right? And we should probably talk about that just a little bit. Yeah, that fear thing. Yeah. Hey, Kimberly's here too. Hello, Kimberly. Good to have you here. Good to have you here. What's it like over by you, across the way in Scotland? How's your weather over there? We are definitely starting spring here. Yeah, I saw another robin this afternoon, just before I came over to the academy, which, by the way, that's where I'm broadcasting from, is Star Nations Academy. Up here, it's totally different kind of energy. I got a lot of windows, a lot of natural light. And when I broadcast from home, I'm in my meditation room, and my meditation room doesn't have any windows. Yeah, so it's kind of nice to be up here in the natural sunlight. Yeah, I'm just looking up. I just noticed there's on the wall right in front of me. There's a spider. I haven't seen a spider in a while. So see, it is spring. It is spring. So here we go. This is adder, snake. And so, and if you have a phobia of snakes, and if you're watching, is just to take some deep breaths, right? And calling in your team, your spiritual team, to help you to take in the information about what adder is bringing to us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about that phobia in just a minute. But just looking, there's a standing stone in the background that has a snake on it, and it's a phallic symbol. It's actually about an altar that is found in Cumbria, and it's a Druid snakestone altar. It's in the background there. Okay. Notice the sky. You got some clouds, puffy clouds. They almost look like rain clouds. Right? And then we get to the snakes. We've got 2 of them. Notice one has his tongue out. And as last time we had this card, Rochelle was reminding us that snake senses, smells, tastes with his tongue. And so he's sensing the air, maybe sensing spirit, sensing us. Right? And there's some etchings on the stone there. There's a labyrinth, right? And the snakes are on top of fossils, shells. Yeah. So, as you're looking at this card, just noticing what drew your eye first. What took you to what part of the card first? What did you notice first? And keep track of that as we have our discussion, our conversation about this card. And because that'll help you understand what the information, what parts of it are for you, and just notice where you feel it in your body. It's about learning how to remember, how to sense all kinds of information, not just what we see with our physical eyes, but what we sense with our other senses, right? And how we bring in information. And even though this is a depiction, right, a picture of two snakes, the light language that's around this card, embedded in the spirit of the card, the spirit of the snake, the adder, we're taking that into the message that it comes with today, right? So that when you feel it in your body, you'll know, oh, that means something to me, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so Kimberly's answering my question about their weather over where she lives in Scotland. She goes, lovely and dry. Oh, that's good. I was at the beach today and saw a flock of swans. So nice to be out in nature. Oh, good for you. Good for you. Swan medicine. It's all about the soul, right? Yeah. And Bobby's here. Hello, Bobby. Good to have you in the house. Good to see you here. Pat's here too. Hello, Pat. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of the earlier show today too. And it's nice to see, familiar names and your familiar profiles in the chat. All right, so this is the card that came first, adder. We know that adder is a viper, right? And adder is poisonous. The physical snake is poisonous. But in the medicine that the adder carries, it's also about healing. It's also about healing. And it's also about transformation. The snakes, they slough off their skin once a year. And it's because they're growing. And if they didn't do that, they wouldn't be able to grow. And so when we're talking about the spiritual sense of this, is that, adder is showing us that in order to change, in order to become, to remember who we really are, sometimes we really have to change, right? We have to heal whatever needs to be healing and changing. And in our growth, we have to let something go. Some things maybe go. The other day, I was working on Star Nation stuff, and I had the television on. I was working in the living room. And I thought, I'm going to turn some music or something on. So I turned on Netflix, and I was kind of flipping through to see, if anything caught my eye. And there was this this Japanese lady. What's her last name? Kono. The Kono method of decluttering, right? Tidying up, I think, is what she calls it. and I was kind of listening to it while I was working, and and I was thinking, we yes, do it as from a feng shui perspective. Decluttering is a really good thing, right? And from a perspective of spirituality, we do that in our life as well. Okay, there's some things that we have to declutter. that we have to let go. And one of the rules of decluttering is that clutter is something that you don't use, that you don't love. That's the definition of clutter, and we can only define that for ourselves. No one can define that for us. And so when we're talking about our spiritual life, when we're talking about our soul contract, and when we're talking about how we're doing our spiritual growth, right? It's the same premise. It really is the same premise. And so the Kono method has to do with taking everything out of your closets. If you're going through your clothes, she does it in stages. So you're going through all your clothes, then you go through all your books, and then, and so it's step by step. And it takes time. It takes time to go through the entire house with that kind of method. So let's just take the clothes, for example, right? So she has her clients empty out everything from the closets and their dressers and that all on the bed. And they have to go through each piece of clothing and see and sense or feel if it sparks joy for them. Not that they're going to keep it because they should, not to keep it because it was expensive and I haven't worn it, but it was expensive, so I'm going to keep it. No, it's if it makes you happy, and so each piece of clothing, you're going through it and sensing that, right? And if you don't, then you're giving it away. You're taking it away, whether you're selling it or giving it to charity or, something like that. And you're thanking each piece of clothing for whatever it brought to your life. And I have to say, when I was thinking about this, is that even when we're doing this on a spiritual level, because when we do our soul growth, there's some things that are just not going to be of the same vibration. And so those things fall away. Yeah. And so when you find that happening is to actually thank it for bringing whatever life lesson, whatever they brought to your life, to thank it and let it go. I know that it's easier said than done. From experience. I know that's easier said than done, but I can understand how, when we look at it from that perspective, the letting go may be a little bit easier. Okay, when it's just a little bit easier. And so when we're looking at adder and what adder brings to us, that snake medicine is very powerful medicine. It's very powerful. It's about very powerful healing medicine. And think about where snake resides, right? Snake resides underground. Usually. Usually underground. They're very close to Grandmother Earth. They live inside of her, right? Very, very close to her. Yeah. What's Kimberly saying? She goes, I'm getting oneness, how people are intertwined on earth. Although we are all different, we can help heal each other. That's true. It really is true. Because that's where the direction we're all moving toward, right? Is that oneness. That oneness that we're finding what we have in common, the similarities rather than the differences. Yeah. And and helping each other heal, whether it's because we are a healer and having a service that we provide, or perhaps we're just a really good friend, and when somebody's going through something, they're going through their dark night of the soul, is that we're there to hold their hand. In spirit, yes, with prayers and all that, but we're actually putting action to it. That if we can at all possibly do it, is actually to be with them, even for just a little while, physically, to go visit them. to take the time to be with them when they're going through that, right? I tell you, when my sisters did that for me, that was, to me, that was everything. That they literally took time out of their personal lives to come to me because I really needed somebody. And it's not that Paul wasn't there for me. He was, but yeah, he could only do so much, right? So yeah, we can help each other heal in so many ways, so many ways. So let's find out a little bit about adder. And the Gaelic word for natter is, I can't remember, I got to look it up, is Nathair. Nathair. I hope I said that right, Kimberly. Nathair. A little Gaelic. Nathair. Adder. The words associated with adder is transformation, healing, and life energy. Transformation, healing, and life energy. So the card depicts a pair of adders. Druids were sometimes called adders, and it's possible that the story of St. Patrick ridding Ireland of snakes refers to the Druids. In the background, we see the Druid snake stone altar at Cumbria, covered in ivy, a plant which, like the snake, is poisonous and yet which also speaks of the mystery of death and rebirth, and of the soul's journey through the labyrinth from this world to the next and back again. We see such a labyrinth symbolically depicted in the maze carved on the rock's face. Such patterns have been found in many places, including Tintagel in Cornwall. In the foreground are ammonite and sea urchin fossils, both of which may have been used by Druids as magical adder stones, right? Magical adder stones. Nathair, I didn't say that right. Nathair offers healing and transformation. Its ability to glide into the darkness through crevices in the rocks connects to the underworld or the other world in the realm of death. It is the totem animal of the earth goddess. And so the sky father and sun god and represents our ability to die and be reborn. Sorry about that. That's Aisha sending me a messages, I should say. But also necessitate death. Befriending adder or snake power will enable you to journey through life gracefully and magically, shedding your old life easily when the time comes. When the time comes. In the Druid tradition and other traditions, it represents healing and the power of transformation. The snake is a totem animal, urges us to use our powers of energy, penetration, swift and silent movement, not to harm others, but on the contrary, to help them heal. So there you go, Kimberly, because you just said that in your comment was, and that we can help each other heal. Yeah. Yeah. He also says that we can learn how to love and channel the serpent currents which flow through our body and the body of the earth so that they become beneficial, healing, life-giving currents that ultimately flow like the meandering snake rivers of the plains to the wide areas. Adder. And here's a little bit that he says about the shedding of the skin. It suggests that it holds the key to the mysteries of healing and rebirth, and its sinuous movement, which echoes the movement of life force through the body and the earth energy through the land. So there's a story about how, it's kind of like a shamanic journey, actually. Is kind of going through down into the underworld. Through a crevice, much like the snake does, right? And that you're moving along and losing track of time, earth time. And then you see this light or this another opening, and you're heading toward that opening. And that opening is a little bit smaller than what you went through to get in there. And in order to get through, you have to kind of move your body in a way that you'll be able to fit through. But as you're going through, it's brushing, your body is brushing up against it. So it's helping you to remove that old skin. And so when you come out into the light of the next realm or the next area, you're brand new. You're brand new. You don't have your old stuff and the old skin with you. You left that behind. And when you came out into the light, right? I love it. It's so symbolic, isn't it, of our soul growth. And even though we go through those times that are really hard, they're hard emotionally, they're hard spiritually, they're hard mentally, those dark nights of the soul kind of situations, those are difficult times. And you think you're never going to get through it. And yet when you do, because you will, when you get to the other side and you come out into the light of day, out into the illumination, you're a new person. You're not the same person you were when you started that journey through that dark night. There's no way that you could be. And there's no going back. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It actually reminds you the pain that you went through. And as soon as you start feeling that old, because you can feel it, it's like, oh, I don't want to go back there. That was difficult. I'm not going back there. How do I navigate this in the new way? That's the question. Yeah. So let's see. Kimberly saying perfect. I think so too. I do. Oops. And Pat saying, I'm in the process of decluttering. I've done the clothes. Now I'm shedding old clients and tax files. Wow, learning lots. I know. And look at the time that we're talking about this, right, Pat? Here we are at spring, and it's kind of ingrained in us from our parents and where we grew up, that kind of thing, is that spring cleaning, right? Spring cleaning. I remember when my mom used to do that when we were kids, and literally washing the walls. And my grandmother, they lived in a very, very small cabin. It was a 2-room cabin. It was very small. So when you're talking about spring cleaning, decluttering, literally was taking everything out of the house, furniture and the whole thing, carpets, because they didn't have wall to wall. They only had rugs, scatter rugs, and taking them out and beating them and getting them clean again after a long winter, right? Yeah. And when you take everything out of the house like that, you're left with, okay, what are we going to keep? What do we still need? Right? And then what would we like to keep? And can we still fit it in there? And so, yeah. And I can remember watching my mom and my grandmother, taking things out and putting them on the front lawn. Yeah. And at our house, I can remember helping mom washing walls. Why did we do that? Because we had wood burning. Yeah. And so you have a lot of that smoke residue. And so when you're spring cleaning, you're going to clean everything. So I know what you mean, Pat, and especially when you're cleaning out papers and tax stuff. Yeah. We're right in that time of year. Mm-hmm. An adder, it's kind of funny that Philip, the author, goes on to say that it's also about fertility. Yeah. Creation. Creating something new. It says that the druid's adder stone is conceived materially. Its true power lies in the inner realm, where it acts as a focus for the incubation and regeneration of the self. And the fact that, we have two snakes intertwined like this, right? It kind of reminds me of our DNA, the way that it's intertwined. And it also reminds me of the sign. There's a symbol for medical world, the healing caduceus. The caduceus of Mercury is called. Yeah. And some might even say it's about balancing out the positive and the negative, or the light and the dark, because we have a snake that's light and we have a snake that's a darker color. So the balancing of that duality, and which is where Kimberly was talking about the oneness, right? The oneness. Yeah. What else is in there? Well, so Adder is our primary card. And honestly, I do think that it has to do, again, with our healing process that we've been talking about all week, right? Well, all week. It's only Tuesday. Since last week. Especially about that story about how the adder, the snake, can go through a crevice and slough off its skin, right? Yeah. And so, if you're considering the clutter clearing, yeah, we can do that with our house and our belongings and even our belief systems, right? Whatever our beliefs are, is that we can go through them and clutter clear that, because there's some that we've outgrown, that's some that doesn't fit us anymore, and yet we keep them around for what reason, right? Because they've always been there, and yet they don't support us anymore, and sometimes they actually become more of a block or an interference than a help. So if we're doing clutter clearing and using snake medicine, adder medicine, to help us with that, we can do that with our belief systems, right? Yeah. So that we're clutter clearing at a soul level. At a soul level. I'm gonna venture one more step into that, okay? One more step a little bit deeper into that. Years ago, I used to teach a course about soul clearing. And soul clearing back in the day was all about accessing your own Akashic records, right? And identifying a block or an interference where you may have taken a vow of some sort in a past life. And so when we take vows, that vow sits in our Akashic record, right? And many times we would take that vow from that past life or that parallel life into this life. And for instance, maybe we have taken a vow of silence, or a vow of poverty, right? And so it starts impacting this life, because, here we are trying to heal our throat chakra, trying to use our voice, and we keep running into a wall with it. And it's like, I don't get it. I keep doing the healing work, but it's not. I can only get so far, right? Same way with the vow of poverty. You're working on maybe, getting to a point in your life where it's a little bit more comfortable, right? Or a lot more comfortable. Yeah. financially. And so you keep, you're trucking along, and you keep bumping into at the same point that, and you've done everything that you can think of to clear it. And there it is. It's there again. Okay. So in the old days, we would go into the Akashic record and we would identify the life and the vow. And what we would do is do the healing around that and do the rescinding, disavowing that vow, and taking it out of the Akashic record, but leaving the experience, the life lesson, the wisdom in there. So we wouldn't have to redo it again, right? And to me, that was like the ultimate clutter clearing. Ultimate clutter clearing is to go through the Akashic record and say, okay, I've accomplished that. I can let that go. I can let go of the trauma around it. I don't need the trauma or the drama that's attached to this. I've learned the life lesson. I can keep the wisdom and let the other stuff go. Let it go. Heal it and let it go. And so, yeah, so we can do all kinds of clutter clearing. The harder one for me, Pat, is the electronic one in my laptop. And I need to do it. I need to do it because I'm running out of space. All right. So we have Adder. And to help us to understand Adder at a more expansive and deeper level, guess who showed up again? Huh. Raven. This is the second day with him. Bran. In Gaelic, Bran. Raven is all about healing, initiation, and protection. So when we're going deep into that, in that underworld, into the other world, to do our healing, because we've been talking about that ancestral healing piece, right? When we're doing that, don't go by yourself. We never do. We always have our spiritual team with us. There's team members who are specifically meant for that, so that we're not traveling by ourselves. And Raven can help us with that. Raven can fly to the underworld and bring back information. Raven can actually go with us as a guide to the underworld, the other world, to gather information. So the kind of healing that Adder is bringing to us, Raven can be a help, can assist us with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pat says, how about a mini session on Akashic Records? Oh, that'd be a good one, Pat. Really, that would. Julie and I had a meeting on Sunday, and we were talking about the different classes that we could possibly have, right? Different topics. And, starting out with the free mini one, at our closed group here at Star Nations, and kind of like an overview, right? And answering some questions about it. And then we thought we're going to be adding on the online classes in the fall. And so we thought we could take, let's say we're doing the Akashic Records, we could take the overview of what they are and how to access them and that kind of thing from the mini class, and then move it onto the online class and to be able to go a little bit deeper with it, right? And then for those who really want to learn how to do the Akashic Records, access and work on your own records, we could have like a retreat weekend here at the Academy where it's really hands-on in person, to do that kind of work. And so you're right, Pat. That is a good topic because we do have it on the list. The thing is that we have to. I would like to open it up to the different spiritual teachers we have here at Star Nations, and see who is available. Well, let's back up. Who would really be interested in doing a mini class an overview of it, and who's available, right, for when that class would happen. And so, yeah, I can hear Julie's making notes, and so that we can get that done. Okay, because there's a couple of us here who can teach about the Akashic records. And so, let's see, it would be Julie Hedges, because she's trained in it. Polly Joe, she's trained in it. I'm trained in it. I don't know about Maureen. It's possible that Maureen might actually have some access to it as well. And so, we have a few people who are capable of doing that kind of class. So we'll see. We'll see when we can have it, and which one of us will be able to teach it for the mini class. Okay, it's a good one. Thank you for that, Pat. And Kimberly is saying that would be an amazing mini session on accessing the Akashic records. Yeah. The mini session, because it's only an hour, so it would be more of a overview, and also maybe we might be able to actually, set it up for maybe a meditation, or a little bit more than just by definitions, so we'll see how that rolls out. I think it's a good idea. I do. All right, so here is Raven. Raven, remember the knoll in the background there? And that would eventually become the Tower of London. The Tower of London. And there had been crows that resided in the Tower of London. And during World War II, because of the bombing that was done in England, the crows left. And that meant the ravens left, and that meant that their spirit, their medicine left too, right? Now, according to stories, and we're going to have to ask Mervyn Kelly about this, because I'm sure he's got a story that goes with it, is that there was a man who, it says that to understand Churchill's reasoning, because Churchill actually had ravens brought in from Scotland. Ravens brought in from Scotland and Wales to replace the ravens that had left. And it said to understand Churchill's reasoning, we must turn to the tale of Bran the Blessed, in which the superhuman Bran, whose name means raven or crow, asks that his head be cut off and buried on the White Mount in London, facing the direction of France. So as long as the head remained buried, it would protect the kingdom. The Tower of London was later raised on the site of the White Mount, and the totem power was transferred from the buried raven's god's head to the presence of actual ravens in the tower to ensure the kingdom's safety. Yeah. And did you know that Churchill was a Druid? I didn't know that. He was initiated into the Druid order in 1908. I didn't know that. Yeah. So he had the ravens brought back in. It says that Churchill was clearly aware of the importance of the raven as one of the primary totem beasts of Britain, that the sacred birds whose presence invokes protection. So, when you're doing your healing work, your personal healing work, and you know that if we're dealing with ancestral primordial healing of an emotional trauma. So we have to go back a lot of generations, right? That's going to be some traveling work to do from dimension to dimension, from even if you believe in parallel lives rather than past lives, you still have to go from parallel to parallel, generation to generation. You're not going by yourself. You're not. You can call on Raven, either to fly there for you to get the information, or to go with you to get the information, right? So to heal, you might not have to have all of the minutia, the details of it. Who said what to who? No. What you need to know is find out, what is the emotional trauma? What is it? So that you can start focusing your healing like a laser beam at it, so that you can start removing some of that interference, the debris around that, and start healing at the root of it. Yeah, so Adder can help us with that deep healing, and so can Raven. And remember, we're doing this at a slower pace. It's not a race. It's not a race at all. At a slower pace. And so that when we heal one of our bodies, our emotional body, we can kind of take a break and integrate and take it in, because it's shifting our being. It's shifting our resonance, our vibration, our frequency. And sometimes that takes a little time. And I'd rather be able to take some time to be quiet, to do some meditations, maybe to go out and have some fun, go to a movie, have friends in, while I'm doing my integration. I'm not really working on anything more with it, but I'm integrating. I'm absorbing all of the wisdom that came from that. And your soul, that part of you, will let you know when when you're ready for the next piece to heal, the next body. Maybe it's the mental body, right? Or the physical body. So your soul, your higher self, will let you know, now, okay, we're ready for the next piece. Right? So, Bran offers initiation, protection, and the gift of prophecy. And what's meant by initiation in practice may be as formal as actually undergoing an initiation ceremony, or as informal as being initiated into the mysteries of a new post or profession. It marks the death of one thing, which gives way to the birth of another. See, and there's that common thing, right, between the message coming from Adder and the message that where Raven can actually help us, that he's supporting us in that. Yeah. The power of Raven can also bring you the very deepest form of healing, which is achieved through a process known as the resolution of the opposites, giving you the ability of resolving conflicts that have long lain buried in your unconsciousness, or perhaps in your past. So maybe that emotional trauma that we're working with, to healing it and releasing it, gaining that wisdom from it, is all about a conflict of some sort. Yeah. Yeah. Pat saying, I traveled with Raven last night. I don't have any details, only a deep knowing. Oh, well, that's interesting, Pat. She says, I clearly woke up in a different space. Yeah. Well, here's my suggestion, Pat, is to be able to have a conversation with your spiritual team, asking them to help you to understand with some clarity what was with the dream with Raven, and what is this feeling that I feel like I'm in a different space, a new space. What shifted? What changed? Yeah. And they'll let you know. They'll let you know whether they tell you, because I don't know how you converse with your team, but they'll let you know. They'll either directly tell you, or they're going to show you signs and symbols. They might bring you the information through the lyrics of a song, a conversation with somebody. You'll know, though. You'll know, because you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your body. You'll feel it in your chakras, that gut feeling when you just know. I know. Looking in the chat room, many of you have had that experience already. Yeah. When your team is showing you something and you just know. It's like today when Aisha was talking, she was telling us about, I think I asked her a question about our, the evolution of spirituality and how we apply or use our gifts during that time, in this time, as we're transitioning, right? And sometimes the old way of doing something that we've always used doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work as well anymore. And so she said something about our ego, and our higher self or our soul, that they're in constant friction. And our soul growth is in that friction. And, and as long as we're in a physical body on this plane, having this experience, as we remember how to balance our ego, our mental mind with our heart, with our soul, we'll always have that discomfort, because that's what friction does. It brings discomfort, and that's our soul growth. That's our soul growth. Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're stretching. And yeah. Does that make sense? Because my aha moment was that, okay, there's this dance that we do between our mental mind and our heart, our soul. And that's where our soul growth lies, is in that dance, where we're trying to balance it out, remembering what it's like to live in balance. And as we're doing that, we're experiencing the friction, the sparking, the sparking between our ego self, our egoic mind, and our heart, our soul. Yeah, made sense to me. That was my aha moment in that. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, Pat. You're welcome. Yeah, I would just have a conversation with them and asking them to bring you information about what, helping you to understand it. All right. The raven's connection with healing is reinforced when we consider it a bird of prophecy and divination. Integral facets of the healer's art. The raven could travel to the darkest regions of the underworld to bring back visions and auricular instructions to the seeker and the healer. So, Bran, the raven, can really help us with this. But we have to ask. We have to ask him. All right. I'm going to show you. I'm going to get my bookmarks in so I don't lose my page. All right. So I'm going to show you the two cards together. Okay. So here we go. So Adder came first. And Raven came to support and give us more information about Adder. The message that Adder is bringing. It's about that deep healing. And maybe with the adder's tongue being out, it's really sensing the environment around us. Maybe even showing us the resolution of the opposites, blending into one, right? And Raven can help us with that deep healing. As we go deep, he can help us go deep. Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think that Spirit is really, really, really trying to help us get the information that this ancestral healing, those of us that said, yes, we're going to do this. I want to be a disruptor. I want to disrupt this genetic ancestral cycle so that my descendants don't have to deal with this. And more importantly, I don't either. That ancestral primordial emotional trauma can finally be healed, the cycle broken, disrupted, and filled with love, right? Those of us who have chosen to do that at this time, we have all kinds of help. Adder is coming and saying, call on me. I can help you with this. I know how to go into dark areas and into the deep. I know how to do that. I know about deep healing. I can help you with that. Raven is saying the same thing. Yeah. And he's really good at prophecy and intuition, communication. So he can actually tell you, call on him. Help me gather this information. I think so. Tanya saying, hi, I joined late. Ego versus soul is resonating with me today. That was a good message for me to hear. You're welcome, Tanya. It's good to have you in the house. Yeah, good to have you here. All right. Julie Shumway Hill is saying, calling in my team, the crow or raven came in and landed on my head. Really? Wow. I guess he was literally waiting in the wings, waiting for you to call on him to say, help me. I need help. I need help with this information, because he can travel in the underworld, whether he goes with you or if he flies there for you. You can ask him. Yeah. It's a team sport. It's a team sport. That's what they just told me. It's a team sport. Yeah. We can learn together. We can heal together. Oh my gosh, that's good. It's tea. Okay. So anything that resonated with you today about these cards, please, my suggestion is embrace it. Embrace it and see how the energy unfolds around you and how this information can help you. Okay. I always say, notice if you're a direct participant or if you're a witness, because both of them are really good because we learned so much from both. Yeah, to help you out, right? And if it didn't resonate, don't worry about it. It's okay. There's always tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's cards. So, we have lots going on here at Star Nations. That what's coming up tomorrow is not just our time together at 3 p.m. Eastern, but we also have Soul Connections with Polly Jola Bay, right? And talk about healing time. If you want to come and join us, right? Bring this intention with you about the ancestral healing. The Ancient One comes in to help us with that stuff. So, if you're available and you want to do some healing work, that would be a good time to do that. We have the collective energy of our community. Those of us that are there going through our own intentional healing, right? With our own spiritual teams, we're there together in the same same sacred space that Polly Jo creates and holds for us with her team, and they help us with the releasing, right? Yeah, it's good. It's a powerful night for it, let me tell you. If you haven't experienced it yet, just even come and just be in the energy of it because you can feel it. And then, the second half is always about the card draw. So if you enjoy having a mini reading with a single card, come and join us and ask for a card. Just say yes, yes, please, or card, please, and I'll get your name on the list. Which reminds me, when you're in the chat for Soul Connections and you ask for a card and you take a look and you see a like next to your name and your comment, that's me. I'm telling you, I've got you. I got your name on the list. I saw it. I heard your name's on the list. And Polly Jo draws in the order in which they came through in the comments. Okay. So if you get a like on your comment for a card, know that's me saying I got your name down. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, Thursday. We've got elders coming in on Thursday. Constance Shearwater kicks off Thursday morning at 10:30 Eastern Time with Spiritual Mysteries of Life. And she's sharing about higher vibrations. And Connie has been doing a lot of channeling work in her shows. And so she's bringing through her spiritual guides and team that come to her to help, and one of them happens to be Mother Mary. And so there's been mornings where we've been spending time with Mother Mary. So if you're interested in that and hearing about higher vibrations from Connie, you can join us at 10:30 Eastern Time. And then we have our time together, which is the show that we're doing right now at 3 p.m. Eastern, the live stream. And then at 4 p.m., just following us, is Angel Therapy with Maureen Mann. Yeah, and she's talking about angel signs. So you know what that means. We're going to be talking about feathers and coins and music and numbers and all kinds of stuff like that. And she's also going to be doing a card draw at the very end, the last 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes of her show. And that's at 4 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern is the Mystery School with Ortrud and Carl Franklin and myself. And the topic this month is about the sounds of silence. Yeah. It's about going inward and having those moments of silence, right? Yeah, which would be really helpful in us understanding that when we're in the integration period, right? That integration phase, I should call it, of our healing work. So if you can, join us for that too. All right. Okay. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. You won't see me tonight. Although, I was kind of hoping, I got to see how far I am with working on the magazine, the April issue. I might take a break and re-show the interview with Aisha as what's it called? It's a video party. It's a Facebook. And it's to watch the video again and be in the chat room with each other and having a conversation about what she just said, right? I might do that. You guys will get a notification on it if I do. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay. All right. Bama Mino. That means in Potawatomi, until we see each other again. I love you guys.